second.
Thank you, Jesus.
I don't know, 1 second. What's going on? Let me check.
Just bear with us 1 second, gentlemen.
Yes, you're live.
All right.
You're alive.
Just can't see nothing. Just can't see myself. Okay. Okay, gentlemen. A pleasant good night to everybody out there. This is Tough Forum coming at you for the first webinar. Your host tonight, one of your hosts, one half of Tough Forum, Andrew Stevenson, and I'm here with the other.
Percy.
Say your name, sir.
Yeah, my name is Percy.
That's the other half of Tough Forum, and tonight we have two special guests that are joining us, Craig Irish and Wayne Lewis. And tonight we have some interesting discussion that we would like to start tonight, and I'm just so glad I welcome you gentlemen tonight. Before we go any further, just for the viewers, I'd like you to just basically just introduce yourself quickly and just tell them something that we don't know. So let me start with you, Craig. Just introduce the viewers who are watching as we wait for them to come on anyway, but at least in the meantime, just tell us a little something about yourself, sir.
All right. Greetings, everyone. My name is Craig Irish. Born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, but currently living in Edmonton, Alberta. Definitely a pleasure to be here tonight with all of these wonderful gentlemen as we have some tough conversations, but rewarding and challenging at the same time as well. So thank you for having me as a guest tonight.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Wayne, just introduce yourself to the world.
Hey, hello, everybody. I'm Wayne Anthony Lewis. And first of all, it's a privilege and an honor to be here. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Percy. Grew up in Toronto, Rexdale, and you know, I'm just an average Black man. I'll leave it as that.
All right, not so average, a little humble there. Okay, Percy, go ahead, brother, and just introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Percy Plummer. I'm originally born in Jamaica, but I live all over the place. I used to live in, I came to Canada, I used to live in Grand Ravine and Jane and Finch area there. And then I moved to Brampton, and I've been, you know, all over the place. And I consider myself a hardworking man. I'm a family man, I'm a Christian, and that's just my life. I try my best to support and love people. I love God and love people. And my passion is for men that we would, you know, step up to the plate and do our endeavor best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, my name is Andrew, for those who don't know, and I'm one half of Tough Forum. And tonight I'm thanking God that we have the opportunity to speak candidly and openly about this discussion about why we are losing our men, and we're losing them at a drastic rate. It's troubling to me, and I think it's time we discuss and see if we can come up with some kind of solutions, or if there's any solutions that are in the works already. Are they working? And let's just talk about it, because I'm tired of burying my head in the sand and just getting up and saying, you know what, it's not my problem, it's not happening in my home. But the truth is, really, it can just come in anyone's neighborhood. I was just watching the news today, and in Burlington, I think it was 2 people that got shot. And the gentleman was saying, man, this is a quiet neighborhood. I've never seen anything like this. And that's just a testament to show you that it can happen anywhere at any time. But, you know, that just speaks of gun violence. But we're just talking about in general that we're losing men. We're going to go into gun violence tonight too. But the fact of the matter is that however men are dying at a rapid rate. You don't see women dying that rapid as men. Am I correct, gentlemen? And at the same time, even when women are dying, you know what? One of the highest statistics how women are dying, it's at the hands of men. So we got a problem, gentlemen, and we can't just sit back and not talk about it. And I'm glad that I have some gentlemen on here that I believe that will talk the talk. And it's a tough talk to have, especially since we're dealing with the demographic of men. But I believe that it's a needed conversation, and we're going to have that tonight. So before we go into any questions directly, I want, for those people who are coming on or those who are viewing, I want you to be able to type in your questions. Right now, it's open to the panelists only, but you can type in your question. If we have time, we will take some of those questions. You know, share this on Facebook, share this with your friends. This is a conversation that needs to be had amongst our peers and our people, and try to come with some solutions. So your questions, I'll try to manage them as best as I can on Facebook, and we'll put it out to the panelists. You're tuned into Tough Forum tonight, and we have special guests in the house, Craig Irish and Wayne Lewis. Thank you, men who came forth and said they're gonna tackle some of these questions tonight. So Percy, my brother, I've talked enough. You can lead it off. But before you lead it off, I just wanted to read something that I wrote here a little bit, just to give a little context of what we're dealing with. So I wrote down a little thing like this. It says, there's a great deal of factors that are causing societies and the world to lose a great population of men. So tonight we want to start with the painful, obvious ones, but also the ones that are not so obvious, even when they are right in your face. Such things as the power of sin itself, right in your face, but we don't deal with it, right? Hate, deceit, and the lack of accountability. So with that being said, Percy, my brother, you can start it off and direct it who you want to direct it to, and let's have this conversation.
Okay. So brother, Craig, my brother, being a young man, and as you said, you live in, I'm not sure, you, based on the situation, you live in Alberta now, so I can assume that you're seeing a different, I mean, crime might not be at the place where it's at down in this section here. It's a different world out there. I can understand the suburbs are different, but the way things are going now, I see things, it's like wildfire. People are just catching on to different habits and bad habits and stuff like that. And out there is a different experience in comparison to down here. Do you see anything that you think in your mindset that is what is causing things to be different out there? You know what I mean? Is it the culture down here? Is it the environment? Is it, what do you think is leading us, especially men in this section, to have a different mindset?
I think that's a great question. I think what the holistic part about it is the demographic is different. It's a lot more urban over in Toronto than it is here, right? This is more farm country, right? So definitely the demographic is different. Even in Edmonton, even compared to Calgary, right? Calgary has more of a city element to it. It feels more like Toronto and Calgary, but Edmonton, not so much. City life is a lot smaller. There's a lot more rural areas. So, and the population, even just alone, the population in Toronto itself is greater than the whole province of Alberta.
Okay.
So demographics wise, already the numbers don't necessarily add up. I can honestly tell you that one thing it's different. Like I know Andrew and I, we talk about, sometimes we'll have conversations about what the crime rate is like in Toronto, and I couldn't tell you over here because I don't watch the news. There's not that much going on, and it's not in the sense that you're trying to be oblivious, but the activity isn't as frequent. So when you do hear of something, it's like, oh, okay, a person got shot downtown, and it's like, oh, okay, right? But it's not to the magnitude of when you wake up on a Toronto morning and it's like 5 shot last night in a nightclub. Right, the magnitude begins to be greater. So I think demographic plays a big role. But to answer the other part of your question in regards to habits, because I spent the majority of my life in Toronto, right? And like you said, the wildfire. It's funny because you use a great analogy because in Alberta, the BC wildfires, actually, you'll get the smoke over the mountains that come over to Alberta. So we'll get the cloud and the smog. So I understand a little bit about wildfires, but growing up most of my life in Toronto, I think a lot has to do with, like you said, habits and the natures. And I think even just going back to what I was talking about, the demographics, so much people clustered into various areas and sectors. But we can talk about government housing. We can talk about, you know what I mean, overpopulation. Like, I actually lived in Brampton too, and you just see house on top of house. So you could imagine the amount of, especially with Toronto, especially is different cultures as well. Different sections of people mixing and mingling together. There's not that much cultural diversity here, but in Toronto, so much different cultures. So even if we're talking about men, it's not even just about black men either, right? It's Indian men, it's white men, it's Chinese, it's Italian. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because even though we're all black men here, like this forum could be on any spectrum of not just being black, but men in general, because right, men are dying, whether it's Italian mafia, quote unquote, right? It could be a Chinese, whatever, we don't know. But in regards, you turn on the news and you'll see so-and-so drug bust or whatever the case is, right? So I think when you have a mesh of cultures and different perspectives, and so I know sometimes we tend to target black because that's what we see mostly on the news, but it's also in various other areas that we don't see sometimes, that isn't highlighted, right? Because sometimes our perception or what it looks like, it's always like, the blacks are more violent, but we may not see it on an Asian spectrum as much, or a white spectrum as much. So I think it's a clash of cultures could definitely bring habits and those things into play.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Good answer. I really love the answer. So it's pretty much, we in a nutshell, it's a clash of cultures, or the different demographic that leads to some things. And as we said, turf and a man think you're in my space, and everybody want to be represented. So it's like pretty much turned into a dog eat dog world.
Right.
So
could I add this, Percy? And I like that you made that. I like that you made that point, even in regards to cultures. And let's just stay in the lane, because we're all black men here, right? And just because I come from a Caribbean culture, right? But my culture necessarily isn't. And I'll just use this. I'm not Ghanaian, right? Or I'm not from Ethiopia. So the cultures are still clashing, right? Different ways of, even though we may be black, that unifies us, but our cultures and our ways of thinking might be different because of the sections of the world that we come from.
It's true. Good.
Wayne, speak on it, man. What you got to add to that? Is Wayne frozen?
Hey, Wayne.
Looks like he's frozen.
He's gonna have to reset.
Yeah.
So some good points there, Craig and Percy. That culture is definitely a issue, and I like how you touched that there, Craig. That it's not just a black issue. We're gonna delve in that. We're not gonna run from that. Not gonna run from that. But the fact of the matter is that men are dying, whether white, Asian, Indian. It's more predominant that men are dying more so than women.
Right.
Yes.
I have to ask a question. Why is that? Why are women graduating so much more than men? Why is that women seem like they don't need men? Okay, but we don't have to go into all of that. It's too much. Let's stay here. Let me ask a question here now, Craig. If we can agree that a lot of men need to change their way of thinking, what area or level would you suggest that they start? I mean, would it be like personal, educationally, governmentally, institutionally? Where would you start?
I would bring it to, I think, this is a fantastic question. And I think it's more elementary than we think. I think I think the number one thing that even men struggle with on a whole is communication, right? It's talking, is to being able to verbalize things, right? As men, we the tough guy bravado, right? The ego, right? We don't like to be emotional. We don't like to have to show weakness or vulnerability. So even in the midst of even in being a man, right? Like we don't know. Men deal with trauma, right? From kids, whether it's okay not having a father, whether it's losing a parent, whether it's growing up by yourself, having to raise other family members, whatever the situation is, men have dealt with trauma. But we go through life sometimes suppressing that trauma, not being able to deal, not being able to have conversations. So, and I think that could be an issue in a sense. Why? Because guess what? We lack the capability to now even have conversations amongst ourselves. So not just having conversations with family, but now man to man, right? So maybe that could add to the issues, right? So rather than me now talking to Brother Percy and saying, yo, Brother Percy, you wronged me the other day, right? I'm gonna come and mash up his stuff or do something to his family or do something to him physically, right? Rather than saying, okay, hey brother, man, you shorted me on something. Let's have a conversation, man to man. But because that communication dynamic is broken, right? We resort to other ways in how to handle situations, which can then be detrimental to the health of men.
Okay, so you're saying elementary, you want to start it from early. Wayne, welcome back, brother. I don't know what happened there with your connection. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Sorry.
All right.
Connection.
No problem. All right, listen. Don't worry, man. Just jump right back into it. You have something to say, Percy? Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, just a quick something to add on to what Craig just said just now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just came up with something, not now, but a couple of years ago. I think about this thing where some cultures and traditions, I think they literally start teaching the child from in the belly, from the point of inception. They starting to talk to this child and let this child know that this is what is going on, because all that child operates, as you said, is elementary, kindergarten stuff. You can see the mindset sometimes of that child from they step out of the womb, and from day one, and they started to operate. You said, where did this child come from? So sometimes, if you think about it, us as men and we as men, and as Craig rightly says, that the way we were told as men, like, you're a soft man. It took me, like, I'm being honest to you, gentlemen, that it took me a while before I understand that a man, it's okay for you to cry.
Okay. Yeah.
It took me quite a while, and then I asked myself, does it come with maturity? Does it come with age? What brings me now to watch a movie and see a little kid getting hurt in the movie and I'm crying? But we were told as a man, you need to toughen up, man. You need to mature up this thing and be like a man. So I think because of the masculinity, we were told that a man should be always tough. And as you said, we suppressed our emotions. And then sometimes what we do, we suppress it so long that when we try to explain ourselves, we explain in anger and we resort to different things.
Good. I love this. I love how we're getting to it. Wayne, I want to get to you. I want to hear you. So the question I asked Craig, and he touched on, and he started with the elementary level. I said, if we can agree that a lot of men need to change their way of thinking, what area or level would you suggest that they start? Now, I mean, is this personal? Is it educationally, spiritually, parentally, governmental? What's your take? What's the suggestion that you would give to somebody and say, this is where you need to start?
You know what? I think that's a great question. And I think the area where I would suggest would have to be spiritually. Because regardless of your education or your miseducation, your postal code, if you do not have the correct connection with God, you're lost. You're lost not only now, but you're lost forever. You see, you got to look at God sort of like a GPS, my God positioning system. And if a person to be right and to do right, they're gonna need to get that part of them correct. And I take that from a personal experience, and I take that from a practical experience. When you look out the world, when you look at the macro, the micro, you can see an individual, men speaking, when a man is connected spiritually with God correctly, he's different. He thinks different. He acts different. He moves different. But when he is not connected or connected in a way that is inappropriate, you see the results. And
Mhm.
so that's where I would start. You really have to think about it. That has to be right.
All right, I love those
Yeah.
answers, man. Someone said educationally, right from someone said right from the womb, and I like that. Definitely spiritually.
Mhm.
Ever gonna place God out of this conversation. I just want to take a comment, Percy, from the Zoom chat. Someone here, I think it's Anthony K, says big cities. We were talking earlier about the cultures, and he said big cities that are multicultural very often can produce this kind of violence, and this seems to be systemic in North America. And we have a question here also from brother Adrian Davis, who says, how can we encourage men to take steps to do personal slash spiritual counseling? Wayne, I'm gonna send it right back to you before I get to Craig. I'm gonna ask Percy your take on that too. How do we encourage men to take steps to do personal and spiritual counseling?
Well, I come from the school where you just speak straight. You got to keep it real.
Mhm.
When I was a younger man who grew up without a father, I had the opportunity to find and look for role models, people that I looked up to. And one of my mentors told me something. He said, Wayne, as a man, as a husband and a father, there are three things you're going to need in your life. You're going to need a doctor for when you get sick. You're going to need a financial planner to take care of your finances. And you're going to need a shepherd, a pastor, to help to guide you spiritually. And these are three aspects in our lives that we need to move with. And so I look at it like that. I think I would just speak to any men, you three, those who are on the platform, those who will listen in, saying that there's nothing wrong with you getting advice or seeking counsel from someone else who may know more or think differently, because it's something that you're going to need. And to me, that's just what you do to get better. That's what you do to even know if you're right. Um, Listen, my filter is a Christian filter, so I can't any longer speak or think without referring to the Bible or the lessons that I've learned reading in Proverbs. But the Bible speaks about iron sharpens iron, just like
Iron.
one man sharpens the countenance of a friend of another. So that tells me that regardless of how highly I think of Wayne Anthony Lewis, I should be able to speak to my brother Andrew, and you should be able to speak to me directly about anything. You
Okay.
know what I mean? And I'll take it from there. So that's how I would answer that question. Be straight, be
Be
forthright,
straight. Okay.
speak truth in love. That's what I would
Yes.
say.
Craig, you agree with that? Do you have something else to add to that, or how would you
No,
take the steps?
I think that's I think Pastor hit it on. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Pastor, but it's a pastor. So,
It's all good. It's all good.
but I love that, because at the end of the day, we, as a Christian as I am as well, and as a minister, I think it's hard pressed for me to be able to try to give counseling or direction without first consulting with God. And I think that I know someone asked one of those questions. I think we're gonna get to that, but like even in the sense where spirituality is something that's on the rise. Spirituality, I say, right? And now we need to be able to understand that people need much more than just physical counseling, but the counseling of God to help us to live a life and that's pleasing to Him, that will actually help us and benefit us in our walk in this earth, right? As much as I know, it's hard for us to hear, biblical principles and certain things, but I agree. There's so many great things that even as a young man that I've learned, not just from people physically teaching me, but things that I've learned and amassed through my relationship. That's why they say He's a great counselor, right? There's no, right. That's His title, and I think that's a stepping stone, because man on earth can tell you a whole bunch of different things, right? But spiritually, if you have the guidance of God, He can guide you into various areas that you need to be helped in. So,
Bless God.
Right.
Bless.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Percy. I just want to, before you go, Percy, I just want to just mention this to Eric Hart, who's listening out there, says mind, body, and spirit need to be unified. If one is blind, then one's entire self will be fractured. Powerful words there. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Percy.
Yes, yes, and so right, Pastor Wayne, could you run that by me quickly before I answer the question? The GPS, God personal.
Yeah, I love
God,
that.
the God positioning system.
Okay,
Yeah,
positioning
that's yeah,
SYSTA. Okay, God
yeah.
positioning system. And I must say, truly, you answered that question to the T. I mean, I can use myself as an example. Like the moment I used to hear about God, I used to go to church all the time, brought up in the church. But the moment I have a personal relationship with God, my whole mindset. So as you said, it starts with the spiritual part of you. You see things different. You know what I mean? Not in a
Yeah.
religious way, but when you have that encounter, as you're being transformed by the renewing of your mind, you start to think, to see people differently. You start to operate differently. People offend you, and I truly believe, and I've experienced it, that before you jump to do and say, and even the way as the Bible speaks of how we treat our family, our children, our wives, or neighbors, or friends, as you said, start off with a spiritual level, get your spiritual mindset in tune, and feed your spiritual appetite. It's a big way to start, my brother. You said it right, so
All right.
perfect, and I don't have much more to add to that.
Percy, listen, man, you know what? We had some questions set up for the panelists here. But you know what? I'm getting some questions, and I wanna actually address these questions. So, gentlemen,
Yeah, go ahead.
some briefing. So please, I know you guys are doing great right now, and I have two questions here, but I'm gonna go to one before the other, just because, you know, right now, man, the God is just shining in us right now, as my wife said, you know. But here's a question. It says, what about men who don't have access to churches or venues where they can meet up with people of faith? I believe men and women should go out evangelizing to people anywhere they can find them and bring them into a safe place for the kind of counseling, encouragement you were speaking about. So who wants to take that one? What about men who don't have access to the churches? So it's good to talk about spiritual and we're saved. I know we're Christian men, so yes, but let's deal with this. We're gonna get people who are coming to us and say, listen, man, church, hey, you can't come to me with that church stuff. So how do you reach these people? Who wants to go there first?
I could definitely go there. I think
Go for it, Chris.
I think one of the crucial things is being able to have conversations within the family structure, because it's no different than Christianity. It's no different than education, right? But I think it starts at home, right? I think it's and I know we're not just talking about young people, but within the whatever sphere that you're dealing with, right? So if you have a nephew, if you have a brother-in-law, whatever, those people that are in your circles, right? Being able to open up, we're talking about this, a tough forum. You got to have a tough forum at home. You got to have a tough forum when people come to dinner, right? These are the safe, we're talking about having safe space, right? So those are the safe spaces. Yo, if someone's making a rice and peas, like us Caribbeans do, you get together with the brothers, or you're playing some dominoes or whatever. But don't just use those as the opportunities to have just the fun, but the fellowship aspect. Okay, let's have some real conversations now. Okay, what? So being able to just kind of sprinkle it in there. Yo, hey guys, have you seen the news? Or oh, what about that young brother that got shot in Brampton? What do you guys feel about that? And I think it goes back to that what I said earlier. I don't know if Pastor Wayne heard it before, but it was just my elementary part is the communication part, right? As men, we kind of just get together and we stand around kind of thing, right? But then I think at the same minimum, now when we do get together on those, whether it's Christmas dinner, whether it's, now is the time that we have the forums to be able to have those dialogues and be able to say, hey, what's going on, right? We may, like you said, members of faith may not be able to reach them, but we can reach them in our own houses, at our family gatherings, at the barbecues, when everyone's chilling around. Okay, let's talk now. Let's rap one-on-one, or have a come up, especially when you know people don't have the same element, and you don't have to, like we're saying, you don't have to throw the Bible at them, but engage, spark the conversation, right? And then you'll have, okay, then you know it's time to sprinkle a little bit of Jesus and a little bit of the Bible in there. You gotta work your way in there, but it's now having the forums when we're able to have them, whether it's at work, coffee time, or on a break. Use those opportunities to have those kind of conversations.
Beautiful. All right. Wayne, talk on it.
No, I'm in total agreement. That's exactly the approach that we use, that I use. It's just I would answer the question to whoever the question, where do you get your groceries? Where do you cut your hair? Where do you do these things? But some people think that counseling has to be a leather couch in a room.
All right.
Is he gone again?
On Wi-Fi, chip in.
he's on the road.
Yeah, I know.
And a harsh tone like we see in the movie. It's the backyard, it's your front porch. It's just having one of the counseling sessions
Wait for this Wi-Fi, man.
in the public Wi-Fi.
Oh man, you're saying some good stuff there, Wayne, man. You're tripping out. Oh man.
Yeah, I think we lost them.
Yeah, man. Wayne, we gotta lay hands on them that car right now. I know you're traveling. But okay, I got the gist though. It sounds like what we're all saying basically is not just using those avenues where we're at just for fun, barbecue, church picnic, whether it's just even playing dominoes. Hey, funny Percy, isn't that how we got this tough form going?
That's how we got it going, bro.
We're playing dominoes, and all of a sudden we said, hold on, I can't even believe how it happened, Craig. We're playing dominoes of a basement full of men. I'm talking like almost 20 men in this basement. And we said, hold on. Before I even play it, I didn't even play it that night. I said, listen, can we just have your attention here? I said, brothers, men are dying, and we talking, and the person's like, hold on. Everybody mush up their hand. Just forget dominoes for a second. We spent about a good 10, 15 minutes talking and saying, look, we don't even bring our kids to play dominoes with us. They didn't even have a clue how to play dominoes, and there's a good teaching time where we can talk. It's not just the shop like Craig was saying, and not all these other places, right? But you got to be able to interject at least some kind of counseling or some kind of mentorship, something that's other than just about fun and all the things that we hear about out there. Get the girls, get the money. You know what I mean? How about get yourself some self-respect? You know what I mean? How about, pull up your pants? Come on, man. There's so much things that we could talk about and educate our men to get to a level where they should be. So funny that you're talking about that, and as we're waiting for Wayne to get back on here, I know that's what he's talking about, and these are the mediums. So I hope that answers the question there. That was Marilyn. That I don't know, that's my mom, but she asked that question. Sorry, Percy, I see questions coming in, so I'm just trying to fly them. All right, sir?
That's okay. That's what we're here for, to hear from them.
Yeah, I see another one here that was asking, what do you say about when the Bible is taken out of schools, especially in the Black community? I think that's where the question was going. Yeah. Let me get that question correct. How have we, this is from Anthony and Kate, how have we, especially the Black community, been affected by the removal of the Bible from our schools? Oh, great, that one is tough, but we're in the tough forum. Come on.
Yeah.
How have we been affected?
I don't think that's been a major effect.
You want me to read that question one more time?
No. I could answer it, and I heard the question.
Go ahead,
very clearly. I don't think the school has much to do with it. Like I'll revert back to what I said earlier. I think it goes back to the home, right? It's no different than school, because you have school books at school, and kids still ain't learning. So I think it's going back to that principle that the Bible should be, and if we're talking biblical principles here, it should start from home. Parents should be able, because if we're just waiting for society to tell our children about God, society or systems to tell our children about God, then we're putting the Bible in somebody else's hands, when essentially it should be in the home. Fathers and mothers should be giving their kids the guidance that they need to be able to operate in this earth, right? So I wouldn't want to say the school is going to do it. Obviously, the school is going to have its own agenda, whether it's Bible or not, because they can have Bible in there right now, and they're still teaching them about LGBT and all sorts of other stuff. But I think it goes back to what's in the home. Home first. We can't blame before we get to the institutions, before we get to the educational piece, before we get to policing, before we get to anything else, everything starts from the home.
All right. Welcome back, brother, man.
Yeah.
That should be the last one, guys. I hit it.
That should be the last one, right? All right. Cause we laid up some hands.
One.
Yeah, we sent up a request up there, man.
And I appreciate that.
No, we were getting the gist of what you were saying. Sorry, but yeah, we understand we're talking about when the social aspects of getting to counsel the men and stuff. You were talking about how you do it. So you want to finish on that before we give you back that question?
Yeah, just the last thing I wanted to say about that. So I think the second part of the question was about evangelizing, and that has to happen. We have to be able to reach out to many people as possible, and just to speak truth and love. That's the last thing I want to say about that.
Okay. Here's another. Okay, let me just drop this in here. Anyone who's out there listening right now, thank you. I appreciate it. We appreciate it on the Tough Forum. Please share this with your friends and let somebody get on this on the Tough Forum and get their questions out. You can type in your questions at Facebook or on Zoom. Here's a question coming in right here from Steve. Says, good evening, brothers. What about a man who is a father, a husband, and a Christian who has fallen short? How do you build the brother up? What would be the starting point? Wayne, speak on that first.
Okay. I don't know what fallen short means. Did he break his covenant? Is he not making as much money as somebody else? I need to know what that fallen short means, and depending, and whatever that is, then we can take it to the next level. Because so I wouldn't know how to answer that one.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I like that. I like that. It's not that we have all the answers here. Go ahead, Craig, talk on that.
And I love Wayne's perspective on that, and I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier. And I'm not, and Steve, if you're listening, I hope you don't take this the wrong way. It's just, this is where we have to be able to communicate exactly, right? Because sometimes as men, we have that, right? We have that, we don't give the full story. We don't give the full picture of what it is. And sometimes communication is number one. And even to answer that question, I think the first thing is the communication part, right? Being able to open up and say, yo, Wayne, I slipped up with the wifey, man, straight up, right? Like, or hey, man, I went back to the drug. But that opening statement in being able to, because sometimes as men, we kind of like to beat around the bush a little bit and, try to see. And I'm not saying Steve is doing that. Please hear my heart.
I follow you. I follow you.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
that
as men, we need to start to be able to, and I think, like I was saying earlier, I'm back. So now just being able to have the communication and talk and open up that conversation and being able to say, be open and say, hey, bro, yo, it's rough out here. And don't just tell me it's rough. Tell me why it's rough. So
exactly.
And be direct. So I know that if you're dealing with some marital stuff, okay, here are some parameters where we can go in this issue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Percy, speak on it. Ask him a question there, brother.
Ask him another. Do you want me to speak on that same question or another question?
I'm saying no. We're hearing from our panel. We're gonna talk after this. You let them speak tonight. So you have some questions. Drop it on them. We're putting them on the hot seat tonight. Okay.
So do you have any more questions from anybody else on the line?
Let me look here. What we got here. I
we
just
want to hear from them.
I just have a comment here. It says it is also, it's from Maryland again, it is also important when you get people who are not privy to have both parents at home to let them know that they are important, that they can be whoever they want to be, show them love, and always let them know you are a phone call away or anything positive to help to build them up. Blessings. Listen, that's powerful. That's powerful. I have a question here, and it's directed to both you gentlemen. And I don't know how you're gonna answer it, but you know, I know that you both have experience on both sides of the fence. You know what I mean? We obviously did state that, right? But nonetheless, we a bit in the other side, on the other side of town, right? So to speak. We were in the world, amen. So
Yeah.
here's a question that I have for both of you. If we can hold on, let me ask. Yeah. Was there ever a specific point in your life when you felt like you were not living up to the potential of what a man should be? And if so, what did you do to change that behavior? Who wants to go over that one?
So can you repeat the question again?
I said, was there ever a specific point in your life when you felt like you were not living up to the potential of what a man should be? And if there was a time in your life, what did you do to change that behavior?
Yeah, I can answer that one. I've had that. Don't use that. I've had that that experience several times, and it usually comes around whenever I'm on my face. And what I mean on my face, things just not running. Money's not moving the way I'm supposed to move. Business is not running. Church is not growing. Whenever you get into those difficult times in your life, and I've had so many of those in my life where I just haven't measured up. And when I was younger, before I became a Christian, what I thought it was because I didn't have my biological father at home. And the lessons that he should have taught me, the doors that he should have opened for me, I believe, is the reason why I wasn't successful or as successful as I thought I was. But something interesting happened. And this is something that if the listeners hear anything that I say this evening, hear this. When I started to read my father's words, my heavenly father's words in Proverbs, I started to realize that a lot of the things that I wanted to do, my desires, I didn't actually need a man in my home to do it. I needed to allow God to encourage me, to strengthen me, and to help me. And not to lean upon my own understanding. And that he really helped me through, man. He really helped me through those difficult times. Nice. So I teach this to our children. That you either win or you learn. Sounds like a cliche video game or something. Or what could have you done better? What lessons could you learn here that you can apply to somebody else? You can apply the next time, or better yet, when you see someone fall around you, what lessons can you learn from their fall? And so God taught me that. He taught me how to grow from my experiences, that everything happens for a reason, and not to look at myself as a failure by comparing myself to somebody else, because he made me unique. And my path may look similar, but is very different than somebody else. And if that's true, then how can I compare myself to somebody?
Okay. Got you.
Because I am who I am. Because, I grew up with guys that sold drugs, that are murderers, that are CEOs, that are millionaires, the whole spectrum. We drank the same water, went to the same schools, more or less, had the same friends, but we're all different, but we have a similar, if not the same background. Good. That's how I would answer that.
All right, sir. Thank you. Craig, speak on that.
Just repeat the question for me.
Yeah. Was there ever a specific point in your life when you felt like you were not living up to the potential of what a man should be? And if so, what did you do to change that behavior?
I think number one, I guess it's different for me too. I had to go to God, right? I had to look at God and say, okay, well, and I think the hardest part was obviously other people had perceptions of where I should be, which is fine, right? Like whether it's your parents, whether it's a pastor, whether it's someone in your life, mother, father, whoever. But the pressures of having that on you as well. But you're trying to figure out and navigate through life who you're supposed to be. But then having to now look within yourself and ask, that's a tough question, right? That's a hard question to ask in yourself. Like, God, I'm not living up to my potential, or even just saying, I'm not living up to my potential. You look around, maybe it's money, maybe it's educational, maybe it's spiritual, right? It's a tough question to ask yourself. And so I feel like even as a man, I think it was hard because as the number one thing for a man that we would like to do is deflect, right? We'll blame other people. We'll say, oh, it's the man is keeping me down, or the system is doing something. So when you actually come to your senses as a prodigal son, so to speak, you kind of look at yourself, okay, wait a minute, I have garbage around me. Okay, God, I need to come home, right? I need to get that wisdom. Because what I really need to have is your wisdom to help me to navigate, to be the man that I need to be, because you created me, you know who I am, right? So now when I got to that sense, I know it was more of okay, I need to go home, because I realized where I am is not in a position to be able to receive my inheritance, right? Because I've spent things, I've dealt foolishly with what God has given me, right? I've squandered it. I'm so far away, right? I'm with company that I don't even know. I'm like, when you come to your senses, you're like, who are these people? Like and I'm glad you asked this question, because I actually had one of those moments where I was outside, I was smoking my spliff, and I'm like, and I just heard God talk to me like, bro, is this it?
Yeah.
Like, is this all you have left in life? Right? Like, and I have my girlfriend, I'm doing my thing, like, I'm living on clubbing, and I just heard God loud and clear. There was no theys, thous, and those. There was none of those. It was just God saying, son, is this it? This is what your life going? And I had to look at myself, and I was younger at the time, right? I was very younger at the time, maybe early 20s, and like, whoa, this is what I'm setting up my life for as a man. And if I didn't take that turn, that was a pivotal moment in my life, because without that turn, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you gentlemen in this fashion, with this vigor, and with this passion, to understand that God needed me to be a different kind of man, not just for a wife, but a man that's an example to Andrew, your kids, Percy, if you have children, Wayne, if you have a son as well, right? So now my manhood is not just for me, but it's to show that okay, there's a man that doesn't do what's going on out there, and that's not susceptible to the things that are out there. Now I'm standing in a different light to show someone else that, okay, you can overcome, you can get through, you can make it, right? So that was my turning point, and how it structured me to get to this manly place that God wanted for me.
Thank you very much for your transparency, gentlemen. Percy, comment or speak on the same thing.
Yeah, well, thanks, Andrew, for allowing me to speak now. As you know, Craig and Wayne, you jumped right into my question. My question that I had to ask you guys was, what lead you to become who you are today, and what brought the change? Because I totally believe that if it's not someone, it's a situation. Something happened that brought that change. And you just answered that question, because that was the question I wanted to ask. Because you see, in life, and we all have that little encounter. But the thing about it is, I truly believe that some of us hear that voice, just like when God was calling, when was talking to Samuel. And he wanted to verify, what am I hearing? And Eli says to him, go back and lay down and answer, right? So I think that God, I truly believe that we, at some point in our lives, whether it's a close miss with an accident, close miss to death, it could have been a situation in our lives. And back to the question that you just asked, Brother Andrew, if at ever a time we feel like less than a man in our life, at some point in time, I truly believe that as a father, as a husband, as a believer in Christ, that I've been at that point at some place in my life, but I more so felt that way before I accepted Christ in my life.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I felt more that way at that particular time because, in my opinion, in my lifestyle, I think I was leading my children, and we're called to be a priest, a prophet, or a king in our homes. And as Brother Craig says, we need to start in our home. So I was failing in all those areas because how am I going to give directions to my children if the life I'm living doesn't speak that volume? I can talk the talk, but I'm not walking the walk. So my kids can always come to me and they can say, but Daddy, you're telling me not to do this, but how come you're doing it? And we're living in a generation now that they're more straightforward, undiluted, unfiltered. They will tell you straight up, listen, Daddy, you tell me not to do this. How come you're doing it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to lead by example and live by example.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was perfect. I just, Craig, before you jump in, I'm just gonna say, I hear all you guys. I thank you for your transparency there. You know, for me on that front, I didn't necessarily say it was God speaking to me. My transformation point was when I first had my first child, and I had my child young. I left home when I was not even 16. You know, I came on the block way, and that's where I started knowing you guys on Rexdale, on the block, on Kipling, and started seeing people hanging out. And you know, my life at that time was that I'm free. I can do what I want to do. I can party. I can smoke. I can make money. Everybody was just making money and just having fun, like no responsibility. When my son came along, boom, slapped me in the face. Like, listen, get your head together, bro. It's not about you no more. You have someone to take care of, right? And I realized the liberty or how I was living my life was not going to be conducive to having a child. And even then, I failed again. So I feel when you say sometimes you're on your face, sometimes, you know, come your way. And, you know, being the hustler that I was like, I'll get out of this too. So I was trying to be that cool guy, that strong guy, and still be, you know, thuggish or whatever to be with my peers and still say I'm a father, but yeah, I can do the same lifestyle. No, that wasn't going to work for a while. Had my second son, boom, not even a year after. And it's like, whoa, stop me again. Wake up. When are you going to stop? Like Craig was saying, someone says, is it what you're going to be doing? Like, how long are you going to be doing this? You know what I mean? What's your backup plan? I get it. There has to be a moment where you have to look on yourself. The onus is on you at the end of the day. Man, black, white, whatever you are, the onus on you as a man to say, hold on, can I continue? Can I sustain doing what I'm doing this way and still, you know, be influential positively to my child or to the person looking up to me? Because whether or not you want to take accountability for yourself, someone is holding you accountable.
Yeah.
Right? There's someone looking on you and saying, man, look at that brother there. You know, I want to be like that brother. And he really doesn't want to be. So I feel what you're saying. Craig, jump back what you're going to say.
I think Brother Percy made an excellent, but he brought up Samuel. And oh man, how I love Samuel and that book. Now, and I think what's critical in that story is the inability for Eli to recognize in the midst of that communication that it was God speaking to Samuel. Okay. So let's just break it down in a practical sense, right? How important, and obviously Eli represented a spiritual father to Samuel, right? But if Eli, if we were to look at it from a practical perspective, how important the roles of fathers are to see the calling on their sons' lives, and not even just practical in the sense like if fathers in a sense, but men in general to look at and see another young man and say like, hey man, no, there's better for you. There's a calling on your life. God has something for you, or hey, you don't have to take this route. There's something on you. And I think what can be said now is that there's many men, especially older men, that feel out of touch with this generation, that feel like they can't talk or they don't identify with or can communicate with this generation. And we need that mentorship, even with Eli. Even if you look at Eli, in a sense, he lost the communication with his own sons, right? With his own sons. So imagine now that you're supposed to be giving spiritual guidance, and God has to overlook you and be able to give it directly to him. So the importance of men, right? I'm not just talking about fathers. I'm not just talking about like your own personal, but that fatherly figure, that man, whether it's a pastor, a doctor in the community, a lawyer, a banker, whoever it is, to be able to have the opportunity to even see a young man or see someone that might be headed down a wrong path, or be able to give advice, information, and identify some areas in that person's life to be able to direct them to change.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, so what is this, since we're talking about that, what does this mean to anybody on the panel here? Step up and be a man. What does that saying really say to you? Wayne, speak on that.
What that means to me is that I have responsibilities. I have leadership responsibilities that I have to work with my wife. And there's sometimes I just got to stand up and take care of the children and do the things that I need to do. I need to be the spiritual head of my home. I need to be the strongest man in my home. I need to be a consistent man in my home. And I need to be that same person I'm in my home when I'm outside in the community. So I can't be one thing on a Sunday morning and another thing on a Sunday night, because my children see this, my family sees this. But more importantly, for me, what stepping up is, it's being there through it all. You know, if you can go back to your marriage vows, most of us had similar vows, even if we wrote our own.
Right.
We made the covenant and we said, I'm gonna be with you regardless of what happens. The only thing that's gonna take me away from being here is death. Well, that's what stepping up means. So when your children are hitting the straight A's, or they're being kicked out of school, when the fridge is full or when the fridge is empty, being there, that that everyone in your family knows that you're there. You're just he's gonna be there. If he's not home yet, he's on his way. Or you know what I mean? That's what it means to me. By stepping goes back to experience of my friends, your experience, Andrew, my growing up, where it's like, you know, at 16, 14, we had to be a man, because when we looked around, our biologicals wasn't there, or he didn't step up. That's my answer.
Thank you, sir. Craig Mack.
Stepping up in regards to being a man, I believe it constitutes needing to know that you have to take a step, right? Like acknowledging that there's levels to this, right? I think in anything else in life, right? Whether it's whatever you do, I don't think that, I think sometimes we settle in complacency sometimes, right? Like Percy, Andrew, I'm not a parent, right? And Wayne, I'm not a parent, but you've realized that in every area of your parenthood as a man, you've had to make another step, right? Yeah. Whether it was from diapers to talking about an opposite sex, whatever, there was always another level that you had to kind of step up to. You couldn't just be still talking about potty training with an 18-year-old, right? So acknowledging that you have to step up, knowing that there's always going to be another level, right? Even as a man, like I've only been married a year now, right? And I haven't gotten complacent in marriage, thinking like, oh, everything's. Even in just recently, like we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary, and we sat down and we had to talk. Okay, hun, what's next for the next level? Like, you know what I mean? What's the next step? That okay? What do you want to see? Okay, where do you? I want to see you step in this regard. I want you to go up to this level. I want to see us growing. So it's that as a man, it's first of all, it's acknowledging that there's always going to be steps needed to take, right? To whether it's up or sometimes even down, in the sense where sometimes we have to humble ourselves, right? Because sometimes we step up so high and it's like, oh, okay, you know, but you're up here with me, I gotta humble myself, and that goes back to, you know, man's ego, our bravado, how we kind of, you know, pump apart. Sometimes I gotta be like, okay, hold on, I need to come back down so I can be able to reach and talk and have dialogue in that regard. But I think what it takes for a man to really step up is, number one, is acknowledging that step and acknowledging that there's always going to be levels of our manhood where we'll have to bring it back a little or take it a step further.
Thank you very much. Percy, to you.
Yes, sir. To me, stepping up is to stand up to your responsibilities. Whatever responsibility as a man that you're entrusted with is to stand up to your responsibility. If that means if whatever you're entrusted with in your care, whether it's your children or your family or your church or your community or your job, too often we negate our responsibilities and we run away from that under pressure, right? We run away when pressure comes, right? When it's time for the mountain, we're there. We want to show up. But when we're in the valley, we tend to want to run away. It's time for us to stand up and fight, step up and stand up to our responsibilities. For me, that's whatever era, in all eras of our lives, full circle, stand up to our responsibilities. Because too many of us are running away and shying away and leaving the responsibilities to our mothers or our wives or our sisters or our brothers. And we run away. We shy away from our responsibilities. And the thing is, a lot of us as men, what I find is that we're not as transparent as we ought to be. Because the young man looking at us or a church brother looking at me, they see me as Brother Percy on Sunday morning or as Brother Percy as a church man. I don't tell him that, listen, my friend, listen, my son, I messed up many times. I used to mess up and I still do because you know what I mean? I'm a human being and I mess up. But sometimes what we do is we make it seem like we paint that picture that, okay, this is the perfect life. We're striving, we're under construction. I try to tell them, I'm under construction and so are you. So you know what? If you mess up, I'm here to listen to you. And I believe that God has brought me on my journey of life for such a time like this that I can relate to a young man. Nice. I can relate to a man my age to let him know that, listen, this comes with the package, my brother. And to stand up to our responsibilities.
Nice, nice. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we're winding it down, but I just want to take a comment. A pleasant good night to everybody who's on the Tough Forum tonight. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your questions. And thank you, panelists. We have our special guests here, Wayne Lewis and Craig Irish, along with Percy and Andrew. And I have a comment here on Facebook from Eric Hart. Shout out to Eric Hart. Says, our own failings and shortcomings, as well as those of others around us, can teach us and motivate us to be better. Failure is an excellent teacher. The important thing is to learn and overcome life's difficulties. Very true, and sound words, they're true. Sometimes failure, like you said, when you're on your face, that's where you actually see. You need that adversity sometimes to see that, you have an advocate in that. All right. I have one question. I don't know how much Percy has left, but then I'm going to give you each gentleman a 3-minute rant, just what you want to rant on in terms of the men and how you would reach out to men. What would you say to a man in a rant that takes them from that level of mediocrity and pull themselves up and say, listen, yeah, I got to change some things? Because you know what? I firmly believe that to reach a man, since we're talking about men, whatever race, they have to first acknowledge that there is something that needs to be changed about them. Do you agree with me with that, gentlemen? That they have to acknowledge that, listen, you know what? Maybe I'm not doing things the right way. And yeah, okay, how can you help me with that? So there has to be an acknowledgement that, you know what, I can do better, first of all. So with that being said, I have a question. This is gonna touch us now, so hope you're ready for the two-part question. It says, we know that there's a plethora of negative influences that contribute to the deterioration of men. Is there any positive influences out there that contribute to the uplifting of men? And if so, are those avenues working, gentlemen? Who wants to take that first? So is there anything, we know that there's a plethora of things out there that's negatively just adding to the deterioration of men. I want to know, inquiring minds want to know, is there really anything out there that is helping our men, uplifting our men? I mean, we're talking church here, so is church helping? Can I just be candid like that? Is church helping? I know, Percy, you have questions too, so if you have them, but I ask that question, and if so, are they working?
I would answer the question by saying, yes, there is also a plethora of examples or opportunities out there. And I think one is the one that we're currently on. For some reason, both you and Percy have decided to start a forum where you would ask tough questions to other men on this one and just wait for the answer. I think that's positive, because we get bombarded with examples of negativity, of people who cannot articulate straight, people who are, drug infested, crime infested, degrade women, degrade men, so on and so forth. I think even this exchange right now will show others there are people out there, your brother, your uncle, your pastor, your friend, your husband, who are positive. I think also you mentioned church, and church is the greatest one, but I also think though a lot of that will change. Going back to the original question about spiritual, once you're aligned correctly, your perspective begins to change. Let me give you an example. All my stories are true. The older I become, the wiser my mother becomes. When I was a young man, I couldn't hear her wisdom. I couldn't hear her words. I knew better.
Okay.
As I become older, more mature,
Yeah.
now she makes a lot more sense. And I think one of the things that we could do, or we should do more, is to speak to some of the older men, give them a platform to speak. Imagine what kind of man our fathers were. They would leave their country, the West Indies, migrate to North America, a first world country, and to start a family. Imagine the vision, imagine the fear, imagine the hustle. Talk about racism, talk about all the obstacles against them. When I look at that, I'm thinking, you know what? Our parents' generation were amazing.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that I look at. I think that if we could shine more light and we can give them a bigger platform today, we would learn a lot. But there's tons. Like in my church, my wife's father, there's so many people out there that have just kept their nose clean, worked
Nice.
hard for 40, 50, 60
Yes. Good.
years, raised their family, you know what I mean? And I salute those. To me, I look at that
Yeah.
as they're my heroes. They're the ones that I
Nice.
take my hat off to.
Awesome.
So I think there's tons.
There's
Tons.
hope. Good. Great.
There's
Great.
hope.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I concur with Wayne. I concur with him 1,000 times plus, because I think the society these days have a way of playing with our minds. Because as you mentioned, Brother Wayne, in our churches, I find because of education, education is a powerful tool. But I think because life experience nowadays doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't play a significant role a lot of times in our churches, because the Bible itself tells us that the older women should train the younger ladies. The
Yeah.
older men should train the younger men with life experience. But nowadays, because of education, who is listening to Papa over there that is 75 years old? Because we think it's ancient of days. So we think now I can learn nothing from this old man. What is this man talking? Just like the Bible. It was written thousands of years ago, but it's relevant for today. So as you speak, we because of lack of knowledge, the people perish. And sometimes we don't tap into the resources that we have right here. We're searching on the internet globally by Google and all these different medium to get a word of wisdom when it's right next to me. If I just said to my papa, or I said to that old man in the corner, Papa, I want to understand something. How did you do it? And we're fighting and we're doing 3 and 4 jobs. And Papa will tell you, as you said rightly, Brother Wayne, I came from the islands. I have no clue what it means to see snow. But yet I came here and I live with my wife for 50 years. We've been married. We struggle. We eat, do what we have to do to survive. So it's about time that we tap back into some of that resources that we have right at our foot.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was beautiful. Craig, I want you to save your comment because I have a question here from Zoom for you specifically. But I want to just really thank the panelists tonight for
powerful.
Both panelists, you're doing awesome and you're helping somebody. I believe that. Thank you for the encouragement, Brother Wayne, that at least you see somebody doing. And I thank you that there's positives. We're not just going to just harp on the negatives. There has to be some positive that gives us hope to continue in this endeavor. Now, Craig, there's a question here directed to you from Anthony and Kay, and it says, Craig, as a young husband, what are the 1 or 2 things you have promised your wife so that she feels safe in the relationship? Come on, man, step up right now.
I think that's easy, and I can
I
think that I can be transparent enough, because for those who may be watching, well, they don't know me, so I can give you my story. Is before I moved, my wife's originally born and raised in Edmonton, and I don't know, I'm a prophetic person, so I don't know. I was talking to a friend one day, and I said, I don't know, man, I just feel my blessings in Edmonton. And long story short, we got introduced and we started talking long distance and whatnot. And it was something I said to her very early on, before we even got engaged, before we even saw each other in person for the first time. And there were some concerns about relationally, like how this is gonna work and money. And I said, listen to me, my girl. Simple and plain. I said, I don't know what all these other guys have out here. I don't have a whole bunch of money. I don't have a great career. I do have a good one now. Thank the Lord. I don't have the fancy car. I don't drive an Audi. I don't have all those things. But the one I do have is Jesus. Chip out there.
Amen.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. Jesus just put me back on the main line. Hallelujah. But in all seriousness, I said there's only one thing I have to give to you, and that's the only thing that's going to be able to stand. That's the only thing I can give you. That's a surety, because a job I can lose, right? Money I can lose, a career I can lose, a car I can lose, but the only thing I won't lose in this life, as long as I have breath, is my relationship with God. And that's the one thing I'll be able to have you to be safe. So when everybody else has all those other things, I'm going to be the one that can pray for you. I'm going to be the one to encourage you and tell you, like, can I even be even more transparent, that even in the midst of COVID, right? My wife is our registered nurse. And even before COVID started, the premier was talking about a whole bunch of layoffs, and my wife just kind of she's newer. She just finished nursing school maybe 2 years ago, so she's lower on the totem pole, and she kind of got a little bit fearful and said, "Man, I don't know what's gonna happen." I said, "Listen to me, my girl." Once again, I said, "Listen to me, my girl." I said, "I'm like, you're not losing no job. I don't care. I don't care where. I don't care what level you are on. I don't care where God is going to make, and even much more so. We've seen blessings abundantly, even that, and to even that degree, like even when we had that conversation, I knew it was deeper than that. So what did I do as a man of God? I went for my olive oil straight from Jerusalem, and I went in that house and I said, God, I know you're gonna keep us, but I didn't, not even just from COVID, but from fear, from any plague, from anything that's going to hinder our relationship. And that's and that just goes back to me being, as Wayne said, as being man of God in my home. That brings that leadership, the prophet of my house, right? So I didn't have much to give her at the time. Trust me, everything I left in Toronto, but I only had one thing to bring, was my clothes and Jesus. That was it.
Amen.
So
hey, Anthony and Kay, they said awesome answer, my brother. Yes, and congratulations to you and Nadia. Shout out to Nadia out there.
Yes.
On your 1 year anniversary plus now.
Thank you.
Yes, man.
Thank you.
The couple, and we're praying your strength out there. Okay, we're winding down. We got about a little 10 minutes to go. So I'm gonna thank you again. I thank you again for being on with Percy and Andrew tonight on the Tough Forum. And right now is your opportunity. Brother Wayne, take it away. You can rant for about 2-3 minutes right now on what you want to say regarding to men, how you're going to encourage them, what you think is needed to be said, that someone can say, whoa, didn't hear that before. You know what? All right. So, I'm putting you on the spot right now, but I want you to also speak from your heart. I mean, you're from the streets and you're also from the church, right? Craig, you're from the streets and you're from the church. We all have an element of both sides, so we can, address something like that. Right now, I'm giving you the opportunity right now in the Tough Forum to just rant for 3 minutes, followed right after by Craig, and then we'll close up with our closing arguments. Thank you one more time again, panelists. Waiting to you right now.
Well, you know what? Thank you for the opportunity. And what I tell everybody is that all my stories are true. I'm going to tell you a true story of what really helped me. I alluded to it earlier, but I'm going to just break it down. I had a good friend of mine who was he was a Christian, and I was like a baby Christian. I just literally came from the streets. I got saved when I was 24. I was on my face before that, searching for God, looking for God. So I tried becoming a Muslim, tried growing my dreads once upon a time, doing all those kind of things, enough weed to make a dread blush. Trust me. So I finally become a Christian. I got saved, and here I am now. And I didn't know what to do, didn't know what to read, what to do. And my friend, his name is Paul, he put me on freeway with a friend of his. I never seen this guy up to today. And he said, young man, what you need to do, if you really want to grow in God, you need to read the book of Proverbs. He said the book of Proverbs was written by King Solomon, and it's written from a father to a son. And throughout the entire book, there are different principles in life. Read a Proverbs a day, every day. And for the past 20 something years that I've been a Christian, I've been reading a Proverbs a day, every day. And I have applied that into my life. I would speak to any man listening to me that if you would just take the time and you just read God's word, you don't need someone to explain it to you. The Holy Spirit will. But if you would just take it up and begin reading it, it will change the way that you see everything. It will help you. It would heal you. It would encourage you. That's just one book. It speaks about, how to date and how to treat a woman and how to become rich and how to become wise and all the things that I was looking for, all the things that I believe that a father should have taught me. Here I was reading every day. I was reading these things and I started meditating on God's word and looking at just a lot of the things that when I was on the corner with the man them and the things that they would say, the Bible said. I said, that's where they got it from. That's the understanding. And that's what I encourage you. Because even if today you're happily married, your children are grown and everything, there is still a part of us that needs more of God and needs more of his word. If you don't know God, then you need to know him, because anything that I could say to you will always be prefaced with understanding on who Jesus is. And finally, that's what I would say. You, regardless of how much money you have, and like I said, I have friends who are millionaires but are not Christian. I have friends who are in jail who are not Christian. And I have friends who are. But the number one thing I would say to you is that life lived without a personal relationship with Jesus Christ is a life wasted. Think about that for a minute. I'm finished.
Yeah, that's a mic drop right there. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Craig. Speak on that.
Just repeat the question one more time for me, so I
No,
can
this
make
is
sure
your
I
rant
answer.
time. This is
Oh,
your
my
rant
rant.
time, man. You got 3 minutes, man. We're
I
writing
don't know if I have to even.
rant.
Once again, I want to thank. Yes, I just want to thank you and Percy for having me on. I think this is a great talk. I think as and Wayne as well. I think he made a great point that this is what we need, right? This is how we show our example, right? We could be doing so many other things, but we took an hour and a half to come together and speak, right? So I think that's important. But to answer the question, or to just even give us feel like I just feel like that even what I was just saying, like I think this is necessary. I think Corona, right? As much as it's been a hindrance, it's been a blessing. I think this is an awesome opportunity for men to be able to have conversations, right? For us to be able to come together and work together and speak together and share together and lift up one another, right? I think I just feel empowered that I'm going to be able to work together within the community, not just in the church, but in the community, to be an example. I know we started off with just talking about men in general, and I know it was kind of based, even we're talking about dying, and I think that this is an opportunity to provide that life, right? I think Percy said it earlier, even if it's just 1 or 2 people that we can reach, right? That's more than enough, right? I think sometimes it's not just about the multitude. Sometimes we're gonna not get the 99, but we're gonna get the 1, right? And I think that's what's going to make the difference. And I think if we start with that kind of mindset, because we're not going to change the world in one day, but these are the steps that we can take where somebody who may be watching doesn't know God or doesn't know of godly examples or men that's willing to be vulnerable and share experiences. So I'm just grateful for these kind of conversations, and I hope that they can continue, not just on these platforms, but in homes, right? Like as COVID hopefully and prayerfully whisks away, that when we get back together and we get back in communion and fellowship at homes and back to Thanksgiving dinner that's going to come up in Canada or in the States, or Christmas time and these holidays, that we can now start to be able to impart or whatever, right? We'll be able to impart these nuggets to young people and not be afraid to share them, right? And lay the wisdom, because we don't know, that could be our last Thanksgiving together, that could be our last Christmas together, that could be our last time at the gym together. We don't know, and obviously COVID is showing that's a reality, right? And I think Wayne alluded to that in a sense where if there's people that we know that don't know Christ, right? And we have the opportunity to not only just impart knowledge that we've learned in society, but what we know spiritually. So I think whenever we have the opportunities like these, or in any type of forum, to be able to have conversations and be the light, even in the midst of all darkness.
Thank you so much.
Amen.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you both on with Percy and Andrew tonight. I can't express how much I'm so grateful for this first run. We haven't done this ever, but I'm so glad that we were able to do it. And time is a precious resource, and the fact that you gave up your time, an hour, I know you were so busy. We're past busy. I say sometimes we're Cersei, right? People out there will know that, right? But right now, I just want to thank you so much. You don't know what this means to us, what this means to us and your encouragement and people that are even just commenting, you know, I thank you so much. I just want to read this one last comment. This was from Brother Mitch Smith. Shout out to Mitch. I think we get to the point where we try to change the process of doing things instead of learning from the older generation. We try to change and recreate the process, right? Somebody had asked the question, how can I get a man to have the hunger and thirst for God? And I believe wholeheartedly that Brother Wayne, he touched that one on how his journey and how, you know, reading a Proverbs a day, reading just read and the Holy Spirit will lead you. Yes, we dealt in a lot of spiritual, but also I think we dealt with some practical. And this is just the beginning of greater things to come, I hope. And I trust and pray that another time you will be able to be a guest again on our panel. I want to thank you, Brother Wayne. I want to thank you, Brother Craig, and just encouraging you in your endeavors and prosperity, health. And, you know, we're going to be connecting again for sure. Thank you for making your time. Brother Percy, just say something and then close us out, please.
Blessings again, my brothers, Brother Wayne and Brother Craig. You know what? I'm so antsy and anxious right now too. I'm giving out the invitation right now. If you will accept it from us, we really and truly learn a lot this evening from you two, you gentlemen. You know, and Brother Craig, as a young man, you know, a young husband, I applaud you as a young man. And you know, the Bible says, "Young man, I call upon you because you're strong." And among us, you're the youngest among us. But you know what? You have a lot of wisdom. You have a wealth of wisdom under your belt that you can expound it to the generation that's right here. And Brother Wayne, I love how you articulate your thing. Undiluted truth. Undiluted truth. It's time that we cut some of this thing out and just straight to the point. You know what I mean? We're so careful these days about people's feeling, while people are heading their way to hell. And we're so careful about how is he gonna feel. We have to be politically correct about how you say that you're gonna offend them. But at the end of the day, if I don't tell you that if you do not accept Christ in your life, it's black and white.
Yeah.
There's consequences. So I truly thank God for you, gentlemen, this evening, and Brother Andrew, and as Brother Wayne rightly says, you know, God, if you said you look, there's so much negative influences out there. But I thank God that he has given us the passion and the vision to move forward with this platform. And I know bigger and greater things are coming. Somebody just asked a question, how often are we, Marilyn, I think it is, that says, how often are we going to be doing this? But Andrew will give the answer. But I can see the interest that people are yearning for this. And we look forward to having you again, gentlemen. And God bless you guys, bless your ministry, and bless your family, bless your home, bless you in your going out and in your coming in. And I want to give a shout out to Brother Anthony and Sister Kay, Brother Steve, you know, all my folks that are typing in their messages and everybody else that came online this evening. We really appreciate it. And to God be all the honor, the glory, and the praise.
Definitely. Good night, Facebook world. Good night, Zoom. Thank you, brothers. You have a good night, and
bless you guys.
We'll connect soon. All right.
Blessings. Thank you.
We will keep you posted on the next one.
Yes.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Okay.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
All right.
He's going to. Craig Mack, you good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thank you.
All right. Feedback. How you felt? How'd you feel?
No, it was good. This is I work in the sense where I'm always doing this. I'm always talking, man. So
it's great.
Hold on.
Oh, we still live? Yeah. Didn't turn it off.